Hi, everybody. Welcome to our 45th episode of
Maughter podcast.
Oh, so cool. My name is Claudia Mother. This is Pollys, she's daughter. Hey, been kiddo?
You know, alive. Just doing my thing.
Yep. I feel you.
What else can you do?
Right? Polly got these new glasses. Every time I look at you, you remind me of, like, Dahmer.
I love them.
They look really good on you. They suit you well.
Yeah. I wanted the big Dahmer glasses, but they covered my eyebrows.
Yeah, that would be
so
weird.
I looked kind of funny.
I like those. They look nice.
Yeah. But the chick at the eye place, she was like, those look really good on you, though. So you need a smaller frame, but the same style of glasses.
Yeah. Well, they look good.
And it was funny because when I went in and she was talking about it, she's like, our lead optometrist has the same face shape as you. And she has those glasses.
Did she use these ones?
Yeah, these
That's
ones.
That's too funny.
And she's like, she looks really good in them. And then when I went in the next day for my appointment,
yeah,
she was the one that helped me.
Oh, really?
And I was like, she's like, I have these glasses. And I was like, oh, you must be the chick that has the same face shape as me. And she did.
That's too funny. I gotta get new glasses. I can't find the one pair that I had. I like my old ones that broke. Those ones are really fun. I'm sad about that, so... What happens when you use glasses, apparently, only when you drive. You break all the good stuff. So, happy Friday.
Yeah.
It's raining outside.
Storming.
Apparently. It's supposed to be really bad weather.
Yeah, it's windy.
Yeah, it's windy. Kind of, sort of. Kind of like died down. It's still windy, though.
Yeah.
Anyways, what are we talking about today?
The West Memphis 3.
The West Memphis. Didn't we talk about these people?
No. We were going to talk about them, but we talked about the Black Dahlia instead.
Oh, right. All right. Ready, Freddy.
The crime. Here we will go over the crime.
We're ready to go over the people?
Yeah, we'll get there.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, the crime.
The crime.
On May 5th, 1993, 8-year-old boys Steve Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers were reportedly missing in West Memphis, Arkansas. The first report to police was made by Byers' adoptive father, John Mark Byers, around 7 p.m. The boys were allegedly last seen together by 3 neighbors, who in affidavits told of seeing them playing together around 6:30 in the evening, and they...
Sorry, how old were they again?
8.
Okay.
They were all 8. Where was I now?
I don't know, you were messing up.
Yeah, thanks. Around 6:30 the evening they disappeared, and seeing Terry Hobbs, Steve Branch's stepfather, calling them to come home. Initial police searches made that night were limited. Friends and neighbors also conducted a search that night, which included a cursory visit to the location where the bodies were later found.
So they went there already?
Yeah.
And then afterwards they were found?
A more thorough police search for the children began around 8 a.m. the next day, on May 6th, led by the county search and rescue personnel. Searchers canvassed all of West Memphis, but focused primarily on Robin Hood Hills, where the boys were reportedly last seen. Despite a shoulder-to-shoulder search, wow, my lisp is not liking that, of Robin Hood Hills by a human chain, searchers found no sign of the missing boys. Around 1:45, juvenile parole officer Steve Jones spotted a boy's black shoe floating in the muddy creek that led to a major drainage canal in Robin Hood Hills. A subsequent search of the ditch revealed the bodies of 3 boys. They had been stripped naked and were hog-tied with their own shoelaces. Their right ankles tied to their right wrists behind their back, and the same with their left arms and legs.
Hog-tied is like this, right? With the thingy?
No,
or backwards. Oh, shoot.
Or, I don't know. It might be in front.
I'm going to Google that when you do that.
Okay. Their clothing was found in the creek, some of it twisted around sticks and had been thrust into the muddy ditch bed. The clothing was mostly turned inside out. 2 pairs of boys' underwear were never recovered.
Sorry, hog-tied is from behind. And then the legs attached to the back of the hands.
Yeah.
By the way, do not Google just hog-tied, because it's all going to be blurred out. And I'm like, wait, what? I'm like, and then it says, what does it mean? I'm like, there we go, that's better. Just an FYI, guys.
Okay, so 2 of the undies were never recovered. Okay. Christopher Byers had lacerations to various parts of his body and mutilation of his
genital areas?
Yes.
Oh. They were 8. They're babies.
The autopsies by forensic pathologist Frank Peretti indicated that Byers died of multiple injuries, while Moore and Branch died of multiple injuries with drowning. Police initially suspected the boys had been raped. However, later expert testimony disputed this finding. Trace amounts of sperm DNA were found on a pair of pants recovered from the scene. Prosecution experts claimed Byers' wounds were the results of a knife attack, and he had been purposely castrated by the murderer.
He's 8.
Yeah. Defense experts claim the injuries were most likely the result of a post-mortem animal predation. So, let's say it was an animal after. Police believe that the boys were assaulted and killed at the location where they were found. Critics argue that the assault, at least, was unlikely to have occurred at the creek. Byers was the only victim found with drugs in his system. He was prescribed Ritalin in January 1993 as part of a treatment for ADHD. The initial autopsy report describes the drug as carbamazepine and the dosage at a subtherapeutic level. His father said Byers may not have taken his prescription on May 5th, the day before. Okay. Now we're going to talk about the victims, because they deserve it.
Oh, those poor babies.
So all the boys they were all second graders.
They're second graders.
Yes. At Weaver Elementary School, and they each achieved the role of the rank of wolf in the local Cub Scout pack and were best friends. So Steve Branch was the son of Stephen and Pamela Branch, who divorced when he was an infant. His mother was awarded custody and later married Terry Hobbs. Branch was 8 years old, 4'2", weighed 65 pounds, had blonde hair. He was last seen wearing blue jeans and a white t-shirt and riding a black and red bicycle. He was an honor student. He lived with his mother, Pamela, and his stepfather, Terry, and 4-year-old half-sister, Amanda. Steve is buried in Mount Zion Elementary in Steele, Missouri. Christopher Byers was born to Melissa and Ricky. His parents divorced when he was 4 years old, and shortly after, his mother married John Byers, who adopted the boy. Byers was 8 years old, 4 feet tall, weighed 52 pounds, and had light brown hair. He was last seen wearing blue jeans, dark shoes, and a white long-sleeve shirt. He lived with his mother, Sharon, his adoptive father, John, and his stepbrother, Sean, age 13. According to his mother, Christopher was a typical 8-year-old. He still believed in the Easter Bunny and Santa Claus. Christopher was buried in Forest Hills Cemetery East in Memphis, Tennessee.
They weren't buried together.
No.
Why did they choose such different spots when they grew up and they lived there?
It could be a family plot or something.
Yeah, I guess.
James Michael Moore, was the son of Todd and Dana Moore. He was 8 years old, 4'2", and 55 pounds with brown hair. He was last seen wearing blue pants, a blue Boy Scout of America shirt, and an orange and blue Boy Scout hat, and was riding a light green bicycle. Moore enjoyed wearing his Scout uniform even when he wasn't at meetings. He was considered the leader of the three. He lived with his parents and his 9-year-old sister, Dawn. He was buried at Crittenden Memorial Park Cemetery in Arkansas.
They were all buried in 3 different areas.
Yeah. Okay, so now we're going to go over the suspects.
Oh my gosh. Polly, is this a stupid cold case?
Yes and no.
Oh, why? These are children. Why are you torturing me like this? Okay, question. What would you do if these were one of your kids?
Crash out.
Right?
I don't know.
Can you imagine? You're an
No.
8-year-old. I have an 8-year-old right now. I couldn't even imagine. I find it really hard. Like, how do you control 3 8-year-old boys?
Yeah.
That's my question. Like, do you knock them out? Do you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong. My kids are animals. Well, not animals, but they're crazy. Like, how do I manage both of them at the same time without
Gain
one?
trust first.
I guess. Like, I can't calm these 2 kids down. Just imagine 3 boys.
Yeah,
like,
but the suspects and the people that were arrested, it was 3 teenage boys. Like 17, 18. So
they did that to little 8-year-olds. They raped. They did that.
Well, they thought that one of them was raped, but they don't think so now. Just listen, okay?
I'm so sad. I'm gonna go help my babies today.
Okay. At the time of their arrest, Jesse Miskelly Jr. was 17 years old, Jason Baldwin was 16, and Damian Eccles was 18. Baldwin and Eccles had previously been arrested for vandalism and shoplifting, respectively.
These are bad apples to begin with.
Yeah. And Miskelly had a reputation for his temper and for engaging in fistfights with other teenagers at school. Miskelly and Eccles had dropped out of high school. However, Baldwin earned high grades and demonstrated a talent for drawing and sketching and was encouraged by one of his teachers to study graphic design in college. Eccles and Baldwin were close friends and bonded over similar taste in music and fiction and over their shared distaste for the prevailing cultural climate of West Memphis, situated in the Bible Belt. Eccles and Baldwin were acquainted with Miskelly from school but were not close friends with him. Eccles' family was poor, received frequent visits from social workers, and he rarely attended school. He and a girlfriend had run off and later broken into a trailer during a rainstorm. They were arrested, though only Eccles was charged with burglary. Eccles spent several months in a mental institution in Arkansas afterwards received full disability status from the Social Security Administration. During Eccles' trial, Dr. George W. Woods testified for the defense that Eccles suffered from serious mental illness characterized by grandiose and persecutory delusions, auditory and visual hallucinations, disordered thought process, substantial lack of insight, and chronic incapacitating mood swings.
And who is it? How old is this one? This boy?
Eccles, he was 18. So he's getting up there for the age of when schizophrenia kicks in.
Jesus.
If he's having hallucinations like that, and he doesn't have insight, at his death penalty sentencing hearing, Eccles' psychologist reported that months before the murders, Eccles had claimed that he obtained superpowers by drinking human blood.
Oh my gosh.
At the time of his arrest, Eccles was working part-time with a roofing company and expecting with a child with his girlfriend, Domini Tier. So those are the main suspects.
Okay.
These are other suspects. Okay. Chris Morgan and Brian Holland. Early in the investigation, the WMPD briefly regarded 2 West Memphis teenagers as suspects.
Why are they all teenagers? What the hell's wrong with these teenagers?
Chris Morgan and Brian Holland, both with drug offense histories, had abruptly departed for Oceanside, California 4 days after the bodies were discovered. Morgan was presumed to at least be casually familiar with all 3 murdered boys, having previously driven an ice cream truck in their neighborhood. Arrested in Oceanside on May 17, 1993, Morgan and Holland both took polygraph exams administered by the California police. Examiners reported that both men's charts indicated deception when they denied involvement in the murders. But they can't use that in court.
Of course not.
During subsequent questioning, Morgan claimed a long history of drug and alcohol use, along with blackouts and memory lapses. Oh, yeah, okay.
Convenient.
I blacked out. He claimed that he might have killed the victims, but quickly recanted this part of his statement.
Of course.
Okay, now the last suspect. Mr. Bojangles.
He sounds like a cat.
It's a nickname.
Oh.
Because they don't know if it's true. The sighting of a black man as a possible alternate suspect was implied during the beginning of the Miskelly trial. According to local West Memphis police officers, on the evening of May 5th, 1993 at 8:42 p.m., workers in the Bojangles restaurant, located about a mile from the crime scene in Robin Hood Hills, reported seeing a black male who seemed mentally disoriented inside the restaurant's ladies' room. The man was bleeding, and he had brushed against the restroom walls. Officer Regina Meeks responded to the call, taking the restaurant manager's report through the eatery's drive-thru window.
Okay, that's
professional. That's so weird, right? By then, the man had left, and the police did not enter the restroom on that date. Why would you not take a sample of his blood if he smeared it all over the walls?
Yeah.
The day after the victims' bodies were found, Bojangles manager Marty King, thinking that there was a possible connection to the bleeding man found in the bathroom, reported the incident to police, who then inspected the ladies' room. The man reportedly wore a blue cast-type brace on his arm that had white Velcro on it, which would have made it difficult to tie up and murder 3 young boys. King gave the officers a pair of sunglasses he thought the man had left behind, and the detectives took some blood samples from the walls and off the tiles of the restroom. Police detective Bryn Ridge testified that he later lost those blood scrapings.
Oh, of course. How convenient.
A hair identified as belonging to a black male was later recovered from a sheet wrapped around one of the victims. Right?
So, what nationality were the other kids?
White, I assume.
Yeah.
By their names. But who knows?
Huh. What do you think happened?
Well, we haven't gone through the investigation yet.
Sorry. Get a long pause.
So this is just the evidence in the interviews.
Okay.
Police officers James Sudbury and Steve Jones felt that the crime had quote-unquote cult overtones.
No.
And that Damien Eccles might have been a suspect because he had an interest in occultism. Okay. Just because I like creepy things does not mean I'm going to kill someone.
I don't think it was correlated.
This isn't the 70s.
Yeah.
Jones felt Eccles was capable of murdering children. The police interviewed Eccles on May 7th, 2 days after the bodies were discovered. During a polygraph examination, he denied any involvement. The polygraph examiner claimed that Eccles' chart indicated deception. On May 9th, during a formal interview by Detective Bryn Ridge, Eccles mentioned that one of the victims had wounds to his genitals. Law enforcement viewed this knowledge as incriminating, because they probably didn't release that at the time.
And he knew about it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No physical evidence connected Eccles, Baldwin, or Miss Kelly to the crime. Sorry. After a month had passed with little progress in the case, police continued to focus on their investigation on Eccles, interrogating him more frequently than any other person.
Eccles being an 18-year-old?
Yeah. Nonetheless, they claimed he was not regarded as a direct suspect, but as a source of information.
Okay. That's a nice way of putting it.
Right? On June 3rd, the police interrogated Jesse Miss Kelly Jr., despite his reported IQ of 72. Jesus Christ. Oh my goodness. He's not a very smart boy. Categorizing him as borderline intellectual functioning, so he can, barely think.
That's sad.
And his status as a minor, Miss Kelly was questioned alone. His parents were not present during the interrogation. Miss Kelly's father gave permission for Miss Kelly to go with police, but did not explicitly give permission for his son to be questioned or interrogated.
What do you think is going to happen when you tell him to go to the cops? You think he's just going to sit there and look pretty?
Well, if they're asking for him to come in, and they don't tell them, yeah, we're going to go into an interrogation room and talk to your son.
Wouldn't that be common sense? If someone arrests my kid
and says, to us.
Well, yeah, because we're normal.
But where do you think he got his 72 IQ from?
This is also true. That's right. I'd be like, my kid is not going nowhere without a lawyer. I'm going to get my lawyer.
Right? Oh, and listen to this. Miss Kelly was questioned for roughly 12 hours.
Oh, that kid's going to be
exhausted. Only 2 segments totaling 46 minutes were recorded.
So what happened with the other stuff?
Wasn't recorded.
Why?
Yeah, why?
Law and Order? Let's go into this.
Miss Kelly quickly recanted his confession, citing intimidation, coercion, fatigue, and veiled threats from police.
That makes sense.
Yep. Miss Kelly specifically said he was scared of the police during this confession. Poor little guy.
Maybe you should have had your parents with you. Just saying.
Maybe your parents should have said, I'm coming in with you.
Right?
Or, don't say anything unless there's a lawyer.
Yeah.
Though he was informed of his Miranda rights, Miss Kelly later claimed that he did not fully understand them. Well, yeah.
He's IQ 72.
And a child.
Yeah.
In 1996, the Arkansas Supreme Court ruled that Miss Kelly's confession was voluntary and that he did in fact understand the Miranda warning and its consequences.
Oh.
Portions of Miss Kelly's statements to the police were leaked to the press and reported on the front page of the Memphis Commercial Appeal before any of the trials began. Whew.
Uh-oh.
Shortly after Miss Kelly's first confession, police arrested Eccles and his close friend Baldwin. 8 months after his original confession, on February 17th, 1994, Miss Kelly made another statement to police. His lawyer, Dan Stidham, remained in the room and continually advised Miss Kelly to not say anything.
Yeah.
Miss Kelly ignored his advice and went on to detail how the boys were abused and murdered.
Shut up!
Stidham, who was later elected to a municipal judgeship, has written a detailed critique of what he asserts are major police errors and misconceptions during their investigation. Stidham made similar comments during a radio show interview in May 2010.
Holy.
The physical evidence presented at the trial of Eccles and Baldwin consisted of 2 green threads found at the crime scene that a state witness claimed are microscopically similar to the green child's t-shirt found in Eccles' sister's closet, and 1 rayon fiber that state witnesses said is similar to a woman's robe found in Baldwin's house. Okay. Like, those are so inconclusive.
Yeah.
Under further questioning, the state witness conceded that many fibers are microscopically similar to each other, and that the discovery proved nothing. Okay. Now we're going to go to the trials.
Okay, so this is the Baldwin and the other guy and the guy that confessed.
Okay, so Miss Kelly.
Sorry, can you spell his name? I want to see how it's spelled.
Miss Kelly.
Oh, it's like literally Miss Kelly.
Yeah.
That's like what a weird last name, eh?
Yeah. So he is tried by himself, and Eccles and Baldwin were tried together.
Oh, okay.
So Miss Kelly was tried separately, but Eccles and Baldwin were tried together in 1994. Under the Bruton rule, Miss Kelly's confession could not be admitted against his co-defendants, thus he was tried separately. Because he admitted to it, and they didn't. So they can't be tried together.
Gotcha.
All 3 defendants pleaded not guilty when the trial came to it, though.
Of course.
So, for Miss Kelly's trial, Richard Offshay, an expert on false confessions and police coercion and professor of sociology at UC Berkeley, testified that the brief recording of Miss Kelly's interrogation was a classic example of police coercion. Critics have also stated that Miss Kelly's various confessions were in many respects inconsistent with each other, as well as with the particulars of the crime scene and the murder victims, including, for example, an admission that Miss Kelly watched Damien grape one of the boys. Police had initially suspected that the victims had been raped because their booty holes were dilated. Aww. However, there is no forensic evidence indicating that they had been.
Those poor baby boys.
Dilation of the booty hole is a normal post-mortem condition.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, because all your muscles just release, right?
I guess, yeah.
On February 5th, 1994, Miss Kelly was convicted by a jury of one count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder.
Sorry, I thought I heard.
Ooh, spooky.
Sorry. Repeat that last part again, sorry?
On February 5th, 1994, Miss Kelly was convicted by a jury of 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder. The court sentenced him to life plus 40 years. His conviction was appealed, but the Arkansas Supreme Court affirmed the conviction. They were like, nope, you're guilty. Jesus. So, Eccles and Baldwin's trial. 3 weeks later, Eccles and Baldwin went on trial. The prosecution accused the 3 young men of committing a satanic murder.
Oh, it's cult related.
Yeah, but they're going to grab onto anything when they don't have any evidence.
That's true, yeah.
The prosecution called Dale W. Griffiths, a graduate of the unaccredited Columbia Pacific University, as an expert in the occult to testify the murders were a satanic ritual. An unaccredited college.
What?
How is he an expert? Just because he reads a lot?
Yeah.
I think I'm an expert.
You're an unaccredited expert.
Yeah. Like, what? It's kind of a big deal. On March 19th, 1994, Eccles and Baldwin were found guilty on 3 counts of murder. The court sentenced Eccles to death and Baldwin to life in prison. Eccles was an adult at the time of the murders. So he got death. At trial, the defense team argued that the news articles from the time could have been the source of Eccles' knowledge about the genital mutilation, and Eccles said his knowledge was limited to what was on TV. The prosecution claimed that Eccles' knowledge was nonetheless too close to the facts, since there was no public reporting of drowning or that one victim had been mutilated more than the others. Eccles testified to Detective Ridge's description of the earlier conversation, which was not recorded, regarding those particular details was inaccurate. And even lies.
How would you know they weren't recorded?
Because the guy
Said them?
testified.
Oh, right.
Okay. Now, the aftermath. In May 1994, the 3 defendants appealed their convictions. The convictions were upheld on direct appeal. In June 1996, Miss Kelly's lawyer Dan Stidham was preparing an appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. In 2007, Eccles petitioned for a retrial based on the statute permitting post-conviction testing of DNA evidence due to the technological advances since 1994, which might provide exoneration for the wrongfully convicted. The petition failed when the original trial judge, Judge David Burritt, disallowed the presentation of this information in court. This ruling was in turn thrown out by the Arkansas Supreme Court as to all 3 defendants on November 4th, 2010.
Oh, rejected.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're going to skip to the DNA testing and new physical evidence.
Okay.
In 2007, DNA collected from the crime scene was tested. None was found to match DNA from Eccles, Baldwin, or Miss Kelly. A hair not consistent with Stevie Branch's stepfather, Terry Hobbs, was found tied to the knots used to bind one of the victims. The prosecutors, while conceding that no DNA evidence tied the accusers to the crime scene, said the state stands behind its conviction of Eccles and its co-defendants. Additionally, after the murders... Oh, no, we're not going to do that. Okay. Yeah, we'll go over that, sorry. Talking to myself.
Uh-huh. But you're talking aloud.
Request for retrial.
Again?
No, this is going back to the
appeal.
2007
Okay.
one. So, October 29th, 2007, papers were filed in federal court by Eccles' defense lawyer seeking a retrial for his immediate release from prison. The filing cited DNA evidence linking Terry Hobbs, the stepfather of one of the victims, to the crime scene, and new statements from Hobbs' now ex-wife. Also presented in the filing were new expert testimony that the supposed knife marks on the victims, including the injuries to Byers' genitals, were in fact the result of animal predation after the bodies had been dumped.
How'd they get into the river then?
Huh?
How'd they get into the river?
Well, yeah, someone killed them.
But they said the bodies were mutilated by animals.
Yeah.
But how'd they get in the river? They just, fell in the river?
Well, no, they were probably dumped or killed there.
But how'd the animals get to them?
It was like a creek. It was in the mud.
Oh, so it's low enough where they're not down kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, got you.
Like, enough for them to drown.
Yes.
But not enough for them to, wash away.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, on November 4th, 2010, the Arkansas Supreme Court ordered a lower judge to consider whether newly analyzed DNA evidence might exonerate the 3. The justices also instructed the lower court to examine claims of misconduct by the jurors who sentenced Eccles to death and Miss Kelly and Baldwin to life in prison. In early December 2010, David Burnett was elected to the Arkansas State Senate. Circuit Court Judge David Laser was selected to replace David Burritt and preside in the evidentiary hearings mandated by the successful appeal. After weeks of negotiations, on August 19, 2011, Eccles, Baldwin, and Miss Kelly were released from prison as part of a plea deal.
Shut up!
Making the hearings ordered by the Arkansas Supreme Court unnecessary. The 3 entered in Alfred plea deals. Stephen Braga, an attorney with Ropes and Gray who took up Eccles' defense on a pro bono basis beginning in 2009, negotiated the plea agreement with prosecutors. Under the deal, Judge David Laser vacated the previous convictions, including the capital murder convictions for Eccles and Baldwin, and ordered a new trial. Each man then entered an Alford plea to lesser charges of first and second-degree murder while verbally stating their innocence. Judge Laser then sentenced them to time served, a total of 18 years and 78 days, and they were each given a suspended imposition of sentence for 10 years. If they reoffended, they can be sent back to prison for 21.
That's sad.
Yeah, so now they're out.
And those little boys are gone for good.
Yeah. But, again, there's no evidence.
I think they did it. What do you think?
I think you have your iPad case on backwards.
Okay.
Upside down.
Okay.
Sorry.
What do you think? No, it's not.
Yeah, it is. It's supposed to open like a book.
Yeah, but the thingy is right. Oh, no, it is the opposite. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I know.
Shut up. So, who do you think? What do you think? Watch out, there's something underneath there.
What?
There's that little thingy here. Anyway, sorry. What do you think?
I think it would be easy for them to do it.
Oh, definitely.
I think 8-year-old boys would be easily influenced by older teenagers if they want to hang out, right?
That just makes me sad.
3-on-3, you can take these kids.
Definitely.
But.
Sorry.
And
these kids are like Maria's height, but they're definitely not Maria's weight.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Well, no, Maria's probably a little bit taller than 4'2", right?
Yeah, probably a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, but like her weight is so much more than that. I'm not saying my baby's like a big girl.
Chonky.
She's not chonky, but like, I don't know. I always think because she's so darn tall, right? But I'm like, I feel like these kids are like Alejandro's weight. And I'm like, what? Alejandro's 40 pounds. These kids are like, what? 40 to 50 pounds?
60.
Oh, 60.
The oldest one, the heaviest one was 65.
I don't know, what was the latest?
50, 52 or something? 55.
Oh my gosh. And also, they're 8 and in grade 2? Maria's 8 and in grade 3. Do they have a different school system in the States?
It might be.
Oh, okay.
Back then, I don't know.
Sorry, that's what I'm focusing on. Look at me. My goodness. Oh, I couldn't, Polly. I couldn't even think of any teenagers wanting to harm kids.
It happens more than you think.
Like, I still want to put my kids in a bubble. I just want to put them in a bubble. I want to homeschool them. I was talking to our day home girl lady, and she's like, homeschooling have problems too. I'm like, no. They're not going to have problems. I said, this is in 93. Like, this stuff didn't happen back then. Like,
yes, it did.
It did, but it didn't. Like, gosh, how big of a bubble did I live in? So these people are now free when they could have honestly killed these 3 innocent little baby boys.
Yeah.
And these families have lost a little boy in their life forever, and these losers are walking around.
Yeah.
That's just disgusting.
That's like what I think about Robert Pickton's brother. Like how, because he lived on the farm with him.
Did he not? He knew, right?
He said he doesn't know anything.
Oh, please.
But he just lives in Victoria and just a normal life.
How do you live like that? Like, how do you live knowing your brother literally killed people? Like, let's say I killed people. I didn't, but just saying. Like, imagine that it came all about and everything. Like, how would you feel? Like, would you feel...
I'd have to keep living.
But, like, how embarrassing would that be for you?
Well, yeah. I mean, he moved from the mainland to the island.
Okay, like, no, people are not gonna know who he is?
I don't know what his brother looks like.
Do you change his name?
I don't know.
So where are these loser kids now?
Probably moved away.
Where? Find out.
I don't know.
You think they changed their name? Sorry, I'm drinking a Slurpee right now.
I don't know.
Like, I want to know...
I mean, if you're innocent, you have nothing to hide.
But still, where are you now?
Okay, so... on here, I can only see Eccles' aftermath.
Okay.
So the 18-year-old.
Uh-huh.
He relocated to Salem, Massachusetts with a wife and has no intentions of returning to Arkansas. In a 2013 interview with Piers Morgan, he said that he would like to have a career in writing and visual arts. Eccles self-published a memoir, Almost Home, My Life Story, Volume 1, in 2005, while still in prison. After his release, he has worked on a number of additional media projects. In music, he co-wrote the lyrics to the song Army Reserve on Pearl Jam's self-titled album.
What?
And the punk musician Michael Graves, the former vocalist of Misfits, released an album titled Illusions in October 2007 together.
Don't these guys know that he was a child killer?
Probably.
They're okay with this? Gross. I'm boycotting these 2 songs.
You don't even listen to the Misfits.
That's true.
Or Pearl Jam.
I don't even know who the Misfits are, but yeah. Pearl Jam I kind of know.
In art, he gave a presentation about his art process at Rubin Museum of Arts.
You know what he should have done? Give him his process of murdering people.
And he began creating art while on death row as a side effect of my spiritual and magical practice.
How about your spiritual and magical practice of killing kids, because you're a murderer?
The focus of the exhibit, titled Salem, draws attention to the comparison between the historical Salem witch trials and Eccles' own experience during the modern-day witch hunt, known for the false accusations of satanic ritual abuse.
Please, witch hunt. You killed 3 kids with your friends, you loser.
Spoken word. The transcript of Eccles' spoken word performance in The Moth is included in a written compilation of 50 stories from the show's archives, published in 2013.
I hate this guy.
Written works. Eccles' poetry has appeared in the Porcupine Literary Arts magazine. He has written nonfiction for the Arkansas Literary Forum. Since his release, he has published a nonfiction book about both his childhood and incarceration, which includes material from his 2005 memoir. He and Lori Davis, a New York City landscape architect who initiated a correspondence with Eccles in 1999 and ultimately became his wife, co-authored Yours for Eternity, a love story on death row.
Gross.
And in television, he provided the voice of Daryl, a fishman, in episode 3 of the animated Netflix series The Midnight Gospel.
I will not be watching that either now. I'm just kidding. I don't know what that is, but...
He was on Netflix.
Basically, this guy made money off being in prison and being a quote-unquote falsely accused.
It's giving very Gypsy Rose.
Yeah. Right? Like he's like a victim.
Yeah.
You ain't no victim. You're a child killer. Loser. Ugh, I hate this
But there's
guy.
no evidence that he is.
Whatever he is.
What if he is not?
He is. He knows it. He's a loser. He's a loser child killer that deserves to... Wah, wah, wah. Anyways. I hate the fact that you gave me kind of like a cold case with no...
Well, you don't think it's a cold case. You think that they did it.
Well, they did do it.
Oh, then it's not a cold case in your eyes.
Whatever. I still hate those losers.
Maybe it was Mr. Bojangles.
It was not Mr. Bojangles. Don't even. I sound like Maria.
I think the 3 of them are the most likely suspects.
I think those 3 were the killers. Period.
Okay.
No suspects. The killers.
Can't even give my opinion.
Nope. Okay, go ahead. Tell me your thoughts, Pollys.
That's it. I think they're the most likely.
They're most likely. They are the killers. I have a question for you. Do you remember what the heck our sound was last week?
No.
No idea?
No idea.
Okay, we're going to have to pause it and go back and play our thingy because we should write these down. I feel like we should start writing these down because we're going to forget. We're getting to the age where we just forget stuff. Okay, so the minute we heard it, we instantly remembered what it was. It was my Lululemon water bottle. Ready?
That's Peloton.
Oh, crap, my bad. My Peloton one. Ready? Again? I love the sound. It's so fun. Anyways, okay.
Squirted water all over.
I'm not going to say anything. That sounded wrong. Okay. I got a sound.
I got a sound too.
You got a sound? Okay, let's do yours. Okay.
1 sec.
Okay, have a listen to our mystery sound. Okay, one more time. Okay. Let us know what you think our mystery sound is. Before we forget, shout out to Ian, who was literally our only viewer last week. So
yeah, our video got age restricted. So
yeah,
I think this one will too.
Really? I actually hit age restricted for adults only. Does that matter?
Well, you can't put it for kids only because then it's gonna
be completely flagged.
Then we won't have access to any of the comments, right? People can't comment stuff, remember?
Okay, I'm gonna see how I upload it this time.
And we don't want kids to see this?
No, we don't.
So
no, that's true.
I'd rather it be age restricted and have 1 viewer.
Yeah, that's true. So thanks, Ian, for being our last week's viewer.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that it? Oh no, yeah, that's it. We did our mystery sound. Okay, yeah, I'm not here today. All right. Anyways, we hope you guys have yourself a great weekend, and probably don't forget to
like, subscribe, comment, share, Ian.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. You gotta spread the word for us, okay? Because apparently you're the only one listening. It's like we're talking to you, you're not even here, but you are there.
We should just video call next time.
Yeah, right, eh? We're just gonna add you to our conversation by video calling you since you don't want to meet up with us because you're too cool and stuff like that. We get it. It's all good. Just saying, if you do, you get to pick a mystery sound. What? Anyways,
Wow.
hope you guys have a good Friday. Have yourselves a good weekend. We will talk to you guys next week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Bye.